p.m. Corey Kispert from 2:30 to 2:45. You can use your raised hand function as part of your Zoom interface to get in the queue to ask your questions to Coach Few or to Corey Kispert. When recognized, please identify yourself by name and media outlet. And a reminder, if you do have a follow-up question, we have a lot of questions to get to, just jump back into the queue. Try to resist the temptation to go right into a follow-up question after the first answer. Appreciate that, and we'll see you in just a moment with Coach Few. We're joined now by the head coach of Gonzaga, Mark Few. Coach Few, congratulations and welcome to the Elite Eight. We want to ask you to please open things up with a statement, and then we'll get to some questions.
Well, it's great to advance. Obviously, in this tournament, we're thrilled to be in this position. Strangely enough, we're kind of getting a rhythm to our time in the bubble now. It almost feels normal and got a short turnaround, you know, from these 16 games to the Elite Eight ones, and you know, we got a huge challenge ahead of us with just how well SC's playing and just the kind of the different style that they bring moving forward.
Let's take our first question from Brenna Green, KREM.
Brenna Green, KREM 2 Sports. Coach, you know, a lot of things, there's been a lot of talk about this Drew Timme versus Evan Mobley matchup. Do you think he, you know, gets up for these bigger names in the post, or do you think he kind of tries to look at them as nameless and faceless?
I think Drew's had a great approach all year. I mean, obviously, look at the consistency he's had. So, I mean, he knows what's at stake in this game. He's a great competitor, and And then this isn't the first time he's played against size. I mean, I think people forget we played BYU 3 times. It has 7'3" Matt Harms. We played West Virginia back earlier in December, back when they had Toshibwe and Culver and a couple other bigs. LMU, Loyola Marymount, I think, is one of the biggest teams in the country. They had a 7'3" guy, a couple 6'10" guys, 6'8" guards. So he's faced size before, obviously. Probably not size with as much talent as the Mobleys have, but I'm sure Drew's looking forward to it.
Coach, our next question is going to come from Keith Osso, KXLY Television. Go ahead, Keith.
Coach, you guys haven't probably had a defense thrown at you that you haven't seen before. You guys have been through a lot. How different is this defense that USC is playing right now?
Hey, listen, I think they've discovered that it's basically what I would call kind of the Syracuse zone, pressed up, and I've had some really, really good success with it. The numbers in the NCAA tournament are really, really impressive. They're doing a great job in it, and they seem to be playing it a lot for long stretches of the game. So it just makes for a different rhythm on offense, and we had the luxury though of this week getting some time to prepare for both them and Oregon before we started our prep with Creighton. So it helped a little bit, obviously, but you wish you had more time because it is a little bit of a unique entity. It's not what you see every night out.
Coach, our next question comes from Dana O'Neill of The Athletic.
Dana O'Neill with The Athletic. Mark, I wanted to ask you a little bit about, I guess, your offensive brain, if you will. Over the years, if there's somebody that kind of influenced you, or if you're a tinker, or kind of, you talked the other night about, all the different things that you've put in this year. Where does that all come from?
I just kind of, it's my vision of how I like to see basketball played. And then I think we always wait every year at our place just to see what kind of pieces we're going to have and how they're all going to fit together. And at least in our minds, we play very, very differently from year to year. Last year, obviously with Phillip, and we're very, very inside oriented, and the 17 team was obviously inside oriented, and this year we're technically playing kind of, I guess, small ball with Corey running around at our power forward position. So it's been kind of really energetic and fun, and I always like putting in new sets and doing new things as the year progresses. The guys know that. We'll put new sets in day of the game a lot of time, just if we think we can attack things in a different way. And the best part about it is our guys can handle it. They can handle all the new things that we put in. But this year's team plays better, without sets by and large, and without our flow is probably the best thing we do.
Up next, we'll take a question from Ryan of the LA Times. Ryan's up next.
Ryan Carchi, LA Times. Mark, the assumption most of the season with USC was that if you were able to shut down Evan Mobley, you could contain their offense. In the tournament, he's only scored 12 points per game, and USC is still, won by an average of more than 20. How has that offense looked different with those other complementary pieces really rolling like they have been?
Well, I didn't watch SC earlier, and I don't know what was said about them early. All I know was in this tournament, I mean, they've been coming at people from a lot of different directions. They've been shooting the 3 ball incredibly well. The guards have really, really stepped up, but all the while you have to pay a lot of attention to both Mobley brothers, because they're play so well together, and they're so efficient when they do get their touches. So I think that's probably the dilemma I know that you face defensively is you've got to give them a lot of attention, but at this point now you've got to give equal attention just to how well those other players are playing, especially how well they've been shooting it from the 3 line.
We'll go from LA now to New York. Zach Braziller of the New York Post.
Zach Brazil, New York Post. Mark, the game obviously features two, elite prospects with Jalen and Evan. And I think what stood out for both of them in the tournament is they don't have to really score a lot to make such a big impact. What does it say about a young player who's so highly rated, but they don't feel that need where I got to go score 25 or 30 a night to make my presence felt?
That they're winners and they understand that the end of the day is, what you want all your great players to understand is if you win, then, the accolades follow. And it doesn't always work out when you get those scenarios juxtaposed. So, it's awesome. We recruited Evan a little bit way back in the day and just an awesome family with great perspective. The dad's done a great job with both those boys, and their parents have raised them right, and Jalen the same way, man. Jalen's all about winning, and he best part of Jalen's game is he can do a lot of things other than score, and that really impacts the game. I think hopefully everybody saw that the other night. I think Zagorowski's a terrific player, and I thought he did a wonderful job of defending him.
Coach, the next question comes from Dylan Jesperson.
Hi, Dylan Jesperson, Tunnel Vision Sports. With this being your fourth Elite Eight in 6 tournaments, how much does it help you and your coaching staff to have that experience of that short layoff and being able to do prep work on one day's notice?
Yeah, well, I think it does help just because we're used to it and we know what's required and what it takes and just how quickly the turnaround time is. And again, I'd be remiss to not just add just how critical and valuable staffs and experienced assistants like what I have with Tommy and B Mike and Roger and everybody in our group. We were preparing for this moment, much earlier this week, and so it helps having been through it. But at the end of the day, just going to come down to the game tomorrow night, and which team is going to step up and play the best. So you just try to do whatever you can to give your team that edge and give them all the proper tools, all the while knowing you just in such short turnaround, there's only so much they can absorb. So I think probably over the years, if there's one thing I've done is come to understand that a little bit better.
Coach, we have a question from Andre Monroe of Insider Institute.
Coach, you and Gonzaga and Creighton have both different tempos. How important is it to stay true to your tempo when they try to, take the eye out of the ball, so to speak, on the defensive side? How important is it to stay true to your tempo?
That's just what we do, and we believe in it, and that's what I believe in, is playing with pace and staying in attack mode and irregardless of what the other team's defense is doing. And it's, at this point in the season, it's worked out pretty well for us. So, again, sometimes it doesn't always happen if the, other teams want to basically, run the clock down on their offensive side of things. But even with that being said, we still want to get our stop and get it up the floor as quickly as we can, or take it out of the net and get it up the floor as quickly as we can.
We have time for 1 or 2 more questions for Coach Few. If there are any, please raise your hand. Use that hand raise function on your Zoom interface. There is another question, Coach, from Brenna Green, Creme TV.
Brenna Green, Creme 2. Coach, you guys were originally scheduled to play this USC team this year. Do you kind of wish that game would have happened now?
It would have been great if it would have happened. Yeah, that was the one we weren't able to make up, and we were set to play in Portland as part of a honor Phil night, which would have been awesome. But yeah, unfortunately, like some of the other ones, the Baylor game also, it just didn't happen.
Thank you, Coach. And one final question from Zach Braziller of the New York Post once again.
Zach Brazil, New York Post. Mark, is there anything that surprised you about Jalen this year, and what's kind of really just stood out the most about what he's been able to do?
I mean, I guess I don't know if surprised is the proper word. I think it's just the affirmation of just how coachable he's been. He's been unbelievable, and his yearning to be coached and to learn has been great. And just his humbleness within our team structure. I mean, if you came and watched our practices or watched our team meals or watched, when we come into a place or land somewhere and get in on and off the bus, I mean, he's just a normal freshman that's taking the bags off the bus. There's no entitlement whatsoever. We knew that, but still, it's always great when the affirmation happens when it happens in real time in real life.
Is there a final question for Coach Few? Coach, with no further questions, we want to thank you for joining us here this afternoon. Best of luck tomorrow.
You got it. Thank you.
We'll be joined in just a moment by Corey Kispert of Gonzaga. If you have a question for Corey, use the raised hand function on your Zoom interface, and we'll get to your questions and his answers in just a moment. Good afternoon, Corey. Thanks for joining us here. And on behalf of all the media in attendance, want to welcome you to the Elite Eight formally and wish you all the best of luck as you guys prepare for tomorrow's matchup. We'll get right into questions, and we'll start with Keith Osso of KXLY Television.
Hi, Keith Osso, KXLY in Spokane. Corey, you've been chasing this thing for 4 years. It's really close. Can you feel it, or do you dare not look that far ahead yet?
You can't. You just can't. And it's nice that we've been in the bubble for so long. Each day kind of feels the same as the last one. So even though there is this big buildup to these big games coming up, we're not on planes flying to different arenas. We're not back in Spokane with everyone telling us, how great we've been or whatever. It all just kind of feels like business as usual. So it makes it really easy to kind of stay focused on the present and be in the moment.
Let's go next to Aaron Beard of the Associated Press.
Hey, Corey, Aaron Beard with the AP. You guys are top 10 in KenPom's defensive efficiency ratings, and obviously the offense gets all the attention, but do you think you guys get enough credit defensively for what you've done and in sort of being at both ends of the court, you've been effective?
Yeah, I mean, the short answer is no. We play a lot of really high possession games, so our total points given up is a lot higher than some of the other elite defensive teams in the country. But we think we're just as good and can go toe to toe with any defensive team, out there. Especially, I'm really proud of the way we played against Creighton, and those guys are tough to guard. Zagorowski's super shifty. Ballack just never stops moving. And they do a lot of really tricky things. So I was proud of the way we guarded specifically yesterday, and we're going to have a great effort again tomorrow in order to move on.
Corey, our next question is going to come from Jim Meehan of the Spokesman Review. Jim, you're up.
Hey, Corey. Jim Meehan, Spokesman Review. Were you able to watch much of USC and that zone defense, the length of it last night? And maybe what gives you all confidence dealing with it, with the way you guys play off each other and share the ball? How much of a factor does that play into going?
Watch the whole thing. And USC is great at it. They got obviously a lot of big bodies in there, and they're athletic, and they are super connected, especially in the zone. But I mean, we have the utmost confidence in our guys to make plays and make the right reads. And the reads are a little bit different, but at the end of the day, it's basketball, no matter if they're in a zone or a man. And it's part of the reason why this offense is so good and why we feel like we're elite with our playmakers is that, no matter what teams are in, what they throw at us, we've seen it before and we can handle it.
Corey, our next question comes from The Athletic. Dana O'Neill is up next.
Hey, Corey, Dana O'Neill at The Athletic. I just wanted to ask you a little bit about kind of Mark's offensive brain. You guys run a lot of complex stuff and he tinkers and changes it up. How effective is it and how kind of fascinated are you of having gone through it with him for 4 years to see kind of how his mind works?
Yeah, I mean, there's been multiple times this year where I've been lined up across somebody and we do something, or Coach Few yells something from the bench and they look at me, they're like, wow, he's a smart guy. Like, he's super smart. And he's been around the game for so long and had influence from a bunch of different coaches. And yeah, it's really special. I mean, he puts us in positions that we can play to our strengths. We don't have to do anything that we're not necessarily good at. And he kind of just tailors our offense and our whole game around who we are as players. And so Drew can shine, Andrew can shine, Joel can shine. And it makes it really easy on us and it makes it the most fun because we just do what we're best at all day long.
Olivia Ray represents Wish Television in Indianapolis.
Hey, Corey, Olivia Ray here in Indy. I'm working on a little thank you letter to the city of Indianapolis and everyone that was able to pull this off. So I wanted to see what stood out in your mind when you say that, this bubble is business as usual. What do you want to say to everyone that had a hand in this?
Well, it can't be easy, walking around and taking care of a bunch of teenagers for 3 weeks. And we can be obnoxious, and we can be annoying and, not obedient to the rules or whatever. And, everyone that I've come across here in Indy has had a smile on their face, asked me how I was doing, how I've liked it. Kind of just checking in on you, from the people at the front desk to the people who help, get us tested every day. They've been great, and it makes kind of going through this and doing this all worth it, to have those people be so happy to, do what they do. So people talk a lot about the Midwest charm, and I'm kind of seeing it in full effect over the last couple of weeks.
Corey, we're going to move to Zach Braziller of the New York Post.
Corey, wanted to ask you about Jalen. I'm sure you knew he was coming in. He was, a prize prospect, a guy people were talking about that could be a top 5 pick. What has impressed you the most playing with him, and has there been any surprises for you, after hearing about him now after playing with him for a year?
Yeah, I mean, the coaches have told us, or told me specifically, how special he is and how special he was, especially coming in here. And it takes a lot, and it tells you a lot about a guy who could go anywhere he wanted to in the country to play football or basketball. And he decides to come here and, in a lot of respects, probably take a back seat to what he thought he was capable of, or what the role he thought he wanted or thought he deserved in a college program, and be genuinely happy for other people's success. He's super selfless, and he has every right not to be. And, playing with Jalen has been a treat, just because of how he sees the game and how smart he is, and how much he wants us to succeed. And, we're a better team because of it.
We're going to go next to Karthik Venkataraman from Krem 2 Television.
Hey, Corey, Karthik from Krem 2 Sports here. A lot has been made of the fact that USC has such a great 2-point field goal percentage defense. You guys have such a great 2-point field goal percentage offense. You feel because of this quick turnaround that kind of goes in your all's favor, that they really can't, prepare as much for how well you guys cut, how well you guys pass, et cetera, so on and so forth?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's hard to scout us. We've seen that all year long. But those Mobley brothers can protect the rim, and they're really good at it. And it's going to take a huge effort from us on offense in order to, get the percentages that we're used to having around the rim. And they're a reason why they've had the best, 2-point percentage on defense in the country, is just because those guys are so good at what they do. So, yeah, I mean, we haven't had a lot of time to scout them either. So it's kind of just a battle of who can adapt the quickest and who plays best on that night.
Corey, a couple more questions in the queue. We're going to go back to Keith Oso from KXLY Television.
Well, you guys haven't gotten an opportunity to play in front of a lot of people this year, and that crowd yesterday was the loudest I've been in a year. How did you guys just feed off of that? I mean, are you just grateful to have some kind of noise during your game?
Yeah, absolutely. Fed off of it 100%. Not many times during this year where, you know, the other team's got in a bucket and the crowd starts to get on their feet and it feels like an away game. But there were a couple times last night where I felt like that. And, you know, Creighton is one of the best fan bases in the country, and they're kind of close to home here in Indy. So, you know, having their fans pack the stands was really, really cool. And, you know, I'm glad that we kind of went toe to toe with them as a fan base. And it was really cool. It was a cool environment. And, you know, Hinkle does a great job of kind of making us feel like the fans are just right on top of us. So really cool atmosphere this year, especially in the COVID year.
Let's go back to Aaron Beard of the Associated Press. Aaron, you're up.
Hey, Corey, when you were talking about the people taking care of you guys in Indianapolis, you know, team ambassadors and everything else, they've also had people if you forgot to bring something, you could ask for it, get supplies. Did you forget anything, or some of your teammates, and have to order stuff to, you know, kind of fill the time in?
I mean, the only thing I think I forgot was batteries for my Xbox controller, and Drew Timmy, you know, my friendly neighbor, was able to help me out. So nothing like, you know, no toiletry stuff, nothing that I need to kind of go from day to day. But, you know, I'm sure that those guys would be, oh, actually, now that I think about it, my key card scanner on my door didn't work. We ran out of batteries. And so I probably sat outside my room for 2 minutes, all of 2 minutes. And pretty soon a couple, you know, maintenance people were at my door fixing it. So pretty quick response from the Indy hotel crew.
Corey, let's go to Isabel Gonzalez from a mid-major publication. Isabel, go right ahead.
Corey, Isabel Gonzalez, Mid-Major Madness. Everyone's talking about that Drew Timmy Evan Mobley matchup. What can you say about Drew? Just how he handles pressure, and how do you think he's going to perform?
Yeah, no matter what teams throw at Drew, he's really, really good at adapting. I think if you look at his film from the beginning of the year, and you watch games against Kansas and on Auburn, he had a lot of trouble with double teams. But now this year, he's an absolute master at them. He's looking to dish and dime, knows when to score, knows when to pass. His feel for the game is second to none. So I'm feeling pretty confident that no matter what USC decides to do with him, he'll be able to, you know, figure it out like he has all year long.
Let's take a question from Brenna Green, KREM2 Television.
Brenna Green, Crem 2, kind of in the same vein, Corey. You know, obviously Drew had an incredible game against Brady, against Oklahoma the other day. Do you think he kind of gets excited for these big time matchups in the post and having a person like Evan on the other side?
Yeah, I mean, who wouldn't? Drew wants to go toe to toe with the best of the best, and that's the sign of a competitor. And, you know, all of the, you know, facial hair and giggling and laughing and celebrations aside, like, Drew's a dog, and there's a reason why he plays here and why he plays so well here. And yeah, I mean, Drew can play with anybody, can beat anybody, and you know, he's been showing that on full display, you know, all tournament long.
Follow-up question from Karthik, once again with KREM2 Television.
Hey, Corey, a little less serious question. I saw John Rothstein had tweeted out something about a Gonzaga pickleball court over at the hotel room or hotel. Can you just kind of talk about that? Who are the best players on the team? Have there been any good matches on the pickleball court?
Yeah, I can't speak much to the pickleball court. That's kind of Coach Few's realm. He's the pickleball master. I haven't been over there, you know, for the entirety of our time here, but he's really, really good, and he lets you know about it. So I've kind of stayed away for my pride's sake.
Any further questions or final questions for Corey Kispert of Gonzaga? Use that raised hand function on your Zoom interface Okay, Corey, with no more questions, we'd like to thank you for joining us here and wish you all the best of luck against USC tomorrow.
Thank you.
That's it for Gonzaga this afternoon. You can find a recording of this news conference in the NCAA Digital Media Hub at ncaa.veritone.com. Want to thank you for joining us, and we'll see you back here. Michigan's Juwan Howard and Hunter Dickinson join us from 3:45 to 4:15. Those times, once again, Eastern times. Thank you. We'll see you then.